Yuriko, the Tiger's Shadow, versus Kami of the Crescent Moon. And that hand is pretty good. I'm not sure what this card. Return a target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. We may be able to do that to Kami. Yeah, I think I definitely want to keep this. And I also think that we're going to be going for Mistblade Shinobi on turn 1. Oh, actually, it's likely that our opponent is going to be getting out Kami, isn't it? So that does depend. Well, we'll go for it anyway. So we'll grab ourselves a Flooded Strand and go for Underground Sea, and then we'll get down the Mistblade Shinobi, and that is a card that we can of course swing in with next turn. Now then, if we go for Watery Grave, we'll have 4 mana next turn, which means we can Dimir Signet. No, we won't be able to get down. We won't be able to use this and get down our commander, unfortunately. It all depends on if our opponent decides to go for Kami here, which I assume they will. We can hope that they only have a coloured source, but no. They do have another island. An Altar of the Brood. Every time a permanent comes into play under our opponent's control, we will mill a card. This goes infinite with Aminatu and I forget what it's called, Felidar. There's a cat anyway, a 4-mana cat, and it goes infinite with Aminatu. And you can effectively mill out your opponent's entire library. I didn't add it to my deck because I think it's a little bit too easy, to be honest. There are some infinite combos that I'll play every now and then, but that one didn't really speak to me. So we need to get into some unblockables here then. Why don't we go for... Yeah, we'll just get down our Signet here. And then we'll have to hope that our opponent doesn't get into another creature. I'm not sure how creature-based Kami decks are. I don't think they're all that creature-based at all. And I would like to try and work out just how much better we would have done had we have gone for Dimir Signet on turn 1 instead of this Mistblade Shinobi. If we'd gone, we would have had 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 mana. Ooh, Vedalken Shackles is not something we even want to entertain. They do have to pay for that, but they can also steal our commander with it. So I think it might be Liliana Vest time next turn. And what does the other half of this do? Target opponent discards 2 cards. Well, just go for that right now. And we will of course not draw a card thanks to that, but it does mean that our opponent has to replay it next turn unless they want to. If they get another land, they could Vedalken Shackles, but Kami being off the field makes that less likely, not more likely. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we're struggling on mana again. Not going to be able to Liliana Vess and Yuriko. So I think we just have to Liliana Vess right now. And that will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. And we will throw something on top of our library that can help us to deal with Vedalken Shackles. Let's see. I mean, Dimir is the last colour combination you want to be using if you want to make use of Vedalken Shackles. Do we have Imprisoned in the Moon? Yeah, that's an oversight, I think. I think we should definitely be going for Imprisoned in the Moon. Maybe then it's just... Can we use Command and Ninjutsu from our hand? From your hand or the command zone? In that case, might go for a miracle card, if I can remember what the name of it is. Devastation Tide. I think I'll put that on top. And then we might as well get some damage in on our opponent and get on with their turn. Yeah, Devastation Tide will slow them down a bit, hopefully. They do get into another land, so they'll be able to get Kami on the go. And I completely forgot about Altar of the Brood. How annoying. Yeah, that's really irritating. They got a land down and they get Relic of Progenitus, so they're just getting all the answers down here. Yeah, that is irritating. Altar of the Brood I totally forgot about. So we'll just have to try and deal with these artifacts as best we can. I don't see what we can do against these artifacts in a Dimir deck. Just exile a land. Doesn't really matter. We don't have too much graveyard interaction anyway. But without getting into any unblockables, there's not a whole heap we can do here. Just have a target player discard 2 cards here. And then how much mana are we going to have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 5, 6, 7. We can go for Conspiracy and hold up Remand. And that is 5 mana. Or we could go for Oblivion and hold up Remand. I think I quite like Oblivion here, actually. We'll shock in our Watery Grave and then go in for that Oblivion. And we'll reduce our opponent's hand down to 1. They will, of course, draw some additional cards next turn. Hopefully we make things a little bit difficult for them here. And when Gar's put into the graveyard from anyway, shuffle it back into its owner's library. They've also gotten rid of Ambassador Laquatus. Target player mills 3 for 3 mana. So this is obviously a dedicated mill deck, as the Altar of the Brood would suggest to us. We're just going to hold up Remand. And yeah, we've got plenty of unblockables and evasive creatures in the deck, but we don't seem to be getting into any of them. The only one we've seen so far is the Cloud of Fairies, which is it's effectively a free 1/1 flyer. Okay, they're going after our Shinobi. This one, when it deals combat damage to a player, return a creature that player controls to its owner's hand. We can't get through with that thing anyway. I was hoping that we could sneak it past our opponent's Kami, but obviously they had 2 lands to start off with. And then, yeah, they're just trying to guarantee that they get into Liliana Vess. You can't really make use of Liliana Vess's tutor ability, as we learned earlier, thanks to the Altar of the Brood. So we're just going to have to keep pressure on our opponent's hand with that. Let's see that there's a whole heap we can do here against artifacts. We'll make our opponent discard here. Maybe they'll discard an artifact, hoping to get it back with the Academy Ruins. And we will discard a card from our library. We'll just make it another land. We don't really care. And then I think we're definitely... Okay, they go for Gush. They had to return 2 lands in order to do that. so we are going to go for a mana leak on that. Now, definitely punish our opponent for doing that. If they have a counter spell, then so be it. We do actually have Remand as well. And they're trying to draw into more cards so that they can keep hold of whatever it is that they don't want to discard here. Okay, they get rid of an island. They have 3 cards left in hand. We're going to wasteland them. Now, I don't think they're going to do a lot with us with only 1 land in hand, so why don't we go... Oh, in fact, no, they have... What does Gush do? It's return 2 lands to your hand, isn't it? So they have 2 islands in hand currently, which means that they can get down 1 land next turn. I don't think they're going to do anything that we're too worried about with 2 mana. So we're not going to hold up Remand, we're just going to go for Conspiracy onto Ninjas. And they can knock down Liliana Vest to 2 loyalty. But she is going to effectively make them discard a card every turn. That's not the purpose of Liliana Vest in the deck. She is there to load up the top of our library so that we can make Yuriko more of a threat. Unfortunately, without us getting into a throng of unblockable creatures and being able to get triggers off with things like Ninjas in Mistblade Shinobi and Ninja of the Deep Hours, plus the fact that there's not a whole lot we can do with Vidalcan Shackles. Something like Nevinrel's Disc would help, but the deck typically wants to be a lot faster than that. Might be worth running something like a... what is that golem that just came out that is kind of a... Spine of Issar. Meteor Golem or something like that. Maybe it's worth running one of those. Okay, we won the flip again, so Xenograft is just more of the same. Go for more discard on our opponent. They are, of course, drawing more cards than they are discarding, thanks to their Kami. I think we just have to hold up Remand here. How much is Xenograft? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we'll just go for Xenograft. And then at least it is a contingency plan if they decide to bounce our Conspiracy. Then we at least have another means of making everything a ninja, but we really want to be getting into unblockable creatures here, and I don't know what's happening here. We're drawing in lots of cards and we're not seeing any of them. Still, Cloud of Fairies is the only thing that has evasion for us. Go for Ninja on that as well. And the longer the game goes on with this deck, the worse it is for us. We really want to be rushing out victories. But there's nothing we can do against our opponent's board state. We're at least drawing into multiple cards, which potentially puts us closer to getting into what we need to get into. And at least our opponent has reduced their own land count. They're up to 5 cards in hand, and I'm guessing these are both swinging in at Liliana again. And they certainly are. And then we exile a card. We'll go for Cloud of Fairies. There's no means of us getting creatures out of our graveyard. It's not like we have a living death to worry about or anything like that. Okay, let's see if we are as lucky again. We certainly are. And Cover of Darkness makes things unblockable, but doesn't do much else other than that. I think we just have to plus Liliana. and then get into Ninja of the D powers. That can at least block the Mistblade Shinobi. It will kill that, and then they most likely will go for their Vidalcan Shackles onto our Ninja again. I don't see there's a whole lot else we've got going on here, unfortunately. Having some pretty unlucky draws. So there we go. Let's go for Cover of Darkness. And that gives creatures of the chosen type fear, which means that our ninjas can only be blocked by, I think fear is black creatures or artifacts. They can't be blocked except by artifact creatures and or black creatures, that's right. And then we'll just go for Ninja of the D powers, does absolutely nothing for us. Except it does keep Liliana alive at least, but I don't think we're getting a whole lot out of Liliana, to be honest. They're just discarding the cards that they can't make use of anyway. With them drawing additional cards each turn, yeah, it doesn't really do a whole lot of damage to them. They get into another land. Well, this does of course mean that they get to trigger Altar of the Brood twice. They get rid of 2 of our unblockables, which is, yeah, that's not good. Would have been really nice to draw into both of those, which we would have done next turn had they not have gone for Scalding Tarn. So that's good for our opponent. And have to assume that they swing in with both things here. They do not. That's interesting. Okay, so we'll shuffle things up. We'll go for, I think we will have a tap land. I think we've got a cycle land in here. No, we don't. We just have the Sunken Hollow. So we'll just grab that. And we lose the flip this time. We are due for a loss. And there's Nether Traitor with... yeah, Nether Traitor with haste is really good. If they're going to steal any creatures from us, Nether Traitor is the one that they're going to want to get rid of. Target player exiles a card from their graveyard. That is a means of getting rid of the Nether Traitor when it hits the graveyard. Now then, can our opponent have a permanent enter at instant speed? We could kill Liliana here and go for something that would help us. And we would draw into it off of Yuriko. But it all relies on our opponent not getting a permanent down. And then what could we make use of? Bitter Blossom maybe. Cyclonic Rift might help us. Yeah, Cyclonic Rift. Yeah, I think that's the best we can do. We need to get rid of that Vidalcan Shackles. So now we go for Ninja of the Deep has Fear. So that will get us into that Cyclonic Rift that we're worried about. And now then, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, that's tempting. We can just draw into the Cyclonic Rift. I think I'd rather bounce all of their stuff. Are we being greedy here? No, I'm not being greedy. I just want to... yeah, we'll go for hitting our opponent with Ninja of the D powers. And we certainly do want to use that. We'll draw into that Cyclonic Rift before they can have us mill it away. An Ancient Tomb. I didn't realise we hadn't made a land drop, so let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. And then we can still hold up Mana Drain and Remand. Yeah, so that's really good. Might be able to get somewhere this game. Our opponent's on turn 9 and they still only have 3 lands in play. They decide to untap the Vidalcan Shackles. And they can... Oh, okay, they're into Sol Ring, so they are getting into lands now, or into mana. Sol Ring obviously isn't a land. So they'll be able to rebuild quite well next turn, but they'll still have to take a turn off rebuilding as opposed to actually getting the game to progress any. Alright, this is a 4 mana spell. This might be worth... Oh, Control Magic. Yeah, we don't want to give Control Magic back to them. So let's just go with a Mana Drain on that. That's not something that we want to play around for any longer than we have to. Now we have to hope our opponent doesn't have a free counter spell for this Cyclonic Rift. We'll exile a card. We'll just go after the Liliana Vess. And now we're really hoping that our opponent doesn't have a free counter magic for us. There we go, Cyclonic Rift bounces all permanents back to their hand. If they do have free counter magic for this, it is at least something that they're not using on our Yuriko, but we do manage to land that, so that's really good. And then if they go for the Vidalcan Shackles again, we can remand it. And we're going to get into some card draw now off of Yuriko. They have to discard a card because they now have 8 cards in hand. And we managed to avoid a Mindslaver, thanks to our opponent being screwed. And yeah, we managed to win the flip again. Been pretty lucky with this Mana Crypt. And we get some mana that we can't use off of the Mana Drain. We'll just hard cast Yuriko, I think. Yeah, I think we can just hard cast Yuriko here. And at least use some of that mana that we generated from the Mana Drain. Not going to play a land yet, just in case we see something else that we like the look of. And we're going to hit our opponent with 3 ninjas here, which means we will get 3 Yuriko triggers. Hope to hit our opponent with some big stuff. And return a target creature. Yeah, we don't care about that. Ninja of the Deep Hours will draw us a card. Okay, and then we get a unblockable creature finally. Be playing that this turn, I think. And then Mystical Tutor might be helpful. Mystical Tutor I think we'll go for right now actually. And we can draw something off the Ninja of the Deep. Let's see here. Demonic Tutor. Yeah, we have Remand, so why don't we go for Demonic Tutor on that? And then we can at least grab something that we want. Didn't hit our opponent for too much damage there. But we can go for Skull Snatcher and Mist-Cloaked Herald. And we'll hope that our opponent doesn't have a means of clearing these cards off of our board. I don't imagine they do with 4 mana. Curse of Swine they'd have to tap out for really, and we can remand that anyway. So I think we've somehow managed to stabilise in this game. They can get their Sol Ring down if they want to. I think their game plan has to be Vidalcan Shackles, which means that they are... Yeah, Altar of the Brood is fine. Don't care about that. And then if this is Kami, and we don't care about that either. Font of Mythos. Yeah, we'll let Font of Mythos down. That will draw us a couple of cards, which means we'll draw 3 cards at the beginning of next turn. I would have let their Kami down as well because our creatures are unblockable effectively. And we get bolted by Mana Crypt. We draw 2 additional cards here. Let's see if we can... Snapcaster Mage. Does that get us into anything? Don't think it does. We have counter magic in the bin, so we can keep an eye on that. Let's have a look at Serum Visions. See if we want to scry anything big on top or anything useless onto the bottom. Yeah, we'll throw both of those on the bottom. And then we get a Dig Through Time. So why don't we go Demonic Tutor. And we will grab our Scroll Rack, I think. And then we can throw Dig Through Time on top of our library multiple times. Oh, not multiple times. We can't because Scroll Rack taps, of course, but we'll be able to do it once a turn at least. Okay, here we go. Going to swing in at our opponent with everything. We may well just get enough triggers off naturally with these things. But I'm not going to assume that we could do that. Where are we? That's a creature. We'll just go for that. Not likely to be of any relevance. And then don't think it's not going to stack those automatically, unfortunately. Mistblade Shinobi doesn't have a legal target, so I don't know why it's not allowing us to just forego that. We will tap down Scroll Rack, throw Dig Through Time on top, and that will deal 8 damage to our opponent when Yuriko reveals it. And we have Temporal Trespass on top as well. And we've known that. We obviously wouldn't have taken that off the top, but there we go. We get into Swan Song, and that deals the last point of damage onto our opponent. Yeah, very strange game, and a lot longer a game than we typically like to get into. Was looking pretty sticky for us most of the way through that game, but we managed to cobble together a victory there by, I think, countering that Gush was pretty good for us. Our opponent not. Yeah, I think they wanted to keep cards in their hand. I think they were worried about discarding cards to Liliana. And I think they wanted to keep all the cards in their hand and therefore went for Gush in order to draw more cards as some kind of discard fodder. I think that's what they were going for, but they obviously didn't count on us having any counter magic. So I think that really helped us there. Them going down 2 lands and then down an additional land off of our wasteland really slowed them down. So they perhaps shouldn't have gone for that, but their mistake is a means for us to cobble together a victory. So I hope you all enjoyed that very strange Yuriko game, and I will see all of you in the next one. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.